Hello there, my name is Solmaz, and you are listening to Tabling Thoughts podcast. In this podcast, I talk about my experiences as a relationship coach and psychotherapist. The little things that I noticed in my clients' day to day lives, which may affect the quality of their lives and relationships enormously, and for some reasons, they don't pay that much of attention to them. As I mentioned, I'm a relationship coach and I also practice as a psychotherapist in Ontario, Canada. In order to get more information about me, you may check my Instagram account, YouTube, or my other podcasts via the links in description. You are listening to the 31st episode of Tabling Thoughts podcast published in May 2025. And in this episode, we are going to dive into why we keep attracting the same kind of people and how our attachment wounds shape who we love, chase, and repeat. Why do we attract the same kind of people? Have you ever looked back at your relationships, romantic friendships, even professional ones, and thought, why does this keep happening to me? Same dynamics, same disappointments, same kind of person, just with a different name and face. You leave one relationship, intimate or even friendship, thinking you have learned your lesson, only to walk right into another that feels exactly the same, so familiar. Not because you're weak, not because you're naive, but because something inside you is still unfinished. That's the thing about unhealed wounds. They don't go away, they recruit. They recreate. They magnetize the very patterns we were trying to escape. In today's episode, we are going to talk about why this happens. And no, it's not bad luck or poor judgment. It's about your attachment system, your early emotional blueprint, and the subconscious ways we are drawn to what's familiar, even when it hurts. We will also talk about what healing looks like so that your next connection isn't a repeat. It's a rewrite. First, we need to know that the familiar pain isn't random. It's repetitive. We are not broken. We are repeating. Jamie kept falling for emotionally unavailable men. Different cities, different faces. Same emotional emptiness. They all had something in common. They were charming at first, distant later. She would tell herself this one is different. But 2 months in, the same loneliness crept back in. A kind of loneliness that stings even when you're not technically alone. And she wasn't the only one. One of my clients, a man in his 40s, had the pattern too. He kept choosing patterns who needed rescuing. He loved being needed. He felt valuable when he was fixing someone else's crisis. But deep down, he was exhausted and silently resentful. Why does this happen? Why do smart, self-aware people keep ending up in relationships that hurt, drain, or confuse them? Because the brain is wired for familiarity, not necessarily safety. Our nervous system gets hooked on what feels emotionally recognizable. And guess what? That's often not love. It's survival memory. If as a child you had to work hard for love, maybe through being a good girl or boy, staying invisible, or becoming the emotional caretaker, your body remembers that. Not consciously, but deeply. So when you meet someone as an adult who gives you just enough attention but pulls away the moment you get too close, your system doesn't scream danger. It says this feels like home. Home, but not in the safe way or in a nourishing way. Home as in the emotional landscape you grew up in. Maybe your dad was physically present but emotionally cold. Maybe your mom praised you but only when you were impressive. Maybe you were the peacemaker in a chaotic home, or the invisible child who learned to meet her own needs silently. Those patterns don't disappear just because you grow up. They become the filter you use to recognize love. This is where attachment theory comes in. We tend to repeat the emotional choreography we learned early in life. If you're anxious, you might chase love. If you're avoidant, you might fear too much closeness. If you're disorganized, you might crave intimacy and fear. At the same time, a push and pull to exhausts you. And what's the worst part? The more familiar the pain, the more we mistake it for chemistry. We think my heart races when I'm around them. But maybe that's not love. Maybe that's your body trying to survive a pattern it never got to resolve. You might overlook the red flags because part of you is hoping this time you'll finally be chosen, finally be safe, finally be seen. But patterns, my friend, don't change by luck. They change by awareness. And awareness begins with this one line I want to carry with you today. What feels like attraction might just be recognition. The nervous system whispering, I've been here before. My friends, you know what's the most important thing to know right now, right here? Your wounds choose before you do. The unconscious drives who we chase and who we run away from. Meaning that, let me explain. We think we are choosing from logic, from preference, from conscious decisions. But more often than not, it's not you choosing, it's your wounds, your unmet needs, your inner child, hoping for a different ending to the same story but this time. One client of mine, let's call her Sarah, always went to the strong, silent type. She said she loved how grounded they were, how they didn't need constant attention. But a few weeks in, she would start to feel abandoned. They wouldn't open up, wouldn't meet her emotional needs. And suddenly, she was back in that familiar space of chasing closeness, of earning attention. When we explored her childhood, we uncovered the pattern. A father who was distant, rarely home. She became the emotional glue in the family, the good girl. She never learned to receive love, only how to fight for crumbs of it. So as an adult, when someone actually offered her steady, open affection, no games, no highs and lows, she panicked. It felt boring. She actually told me it's so boring, like something was missing. And I told her, you know what's missing? The anxiety, the chase, the emotional roller coaster she mistook for love. My friends, here is the truth that we don't want to admit. Sometimes the red flags don't turn us off, they turn us on. Not because we are broken, but because we are trying to rewrite a script. The little girl who was never chosen is still trying to be chosen by the same kind of person who once ignored her. The boy who was criticized for being too sensitive still hides his emotions and ends up dating people who reinforce the same shame. The woman whose mother only praised her achievements, she ends up in a marriage where love has to be earned, not given. It's like walking into a theater again and again, hoping this time the ending will change. But it won't. Not unless we change the role we play. You might say, I don't know why I feel falling for people who hurt me. But maybe it's because they feel familiar. They fit into the emotional mold your nervous system memorizes. This is what trauma bond can look like. It's not that someone treats us well and we fall in love. It's that someone activates our old wounds and we call it passion. Sometimes your type isn't a preference, it's a pain point dressed in different clothes. This is why self-awareness isn't optional. It's essential because when you don't know what's guiding your choices, your wounds will pick for you. And they won't pick healing. They will pick what is familiar, what matches your earliest definition of love. Even if that love came with conditions, fear, silence, or shame. But here is the hopeful part. Once you start noticing the pattern, once you stop blaming yourself and start getting curious, you begin to choose differently. Not from your wounds, but from your worth. My friends, it's time to learn how to break the pattern because attraction comes from a healed place. It's not about never getting hurt again. It's about choosing differently. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. It means pain won't be your compass anymore. Isn't it interesting? It means your nervous system won't confuse intensity with intimacy. And your heart will learn that love doesn't have to come with chaos. But let's be real. Healing isn't a switch you flip. It's a process of unlearning what felt like love and relearning what love actually is. Let me tell you about Tara. Tara had a history of dating men with held affection, the kind who would disappear for a few days after a deep conversation. She told me, I feel like I'm always chasing the relationship, and when someone is too available, I lose interest. We didn't start by forcing her to like nice guys. We started by helping her build safety in her own body. Because healing isn't about them, it's about you. Healing is about what your body associates with love, what safe even feels like. We did a few key things, and I want to offer them here to you. Not as quick fixes, but as starting points. Are you ready? I elaborated learning to pause before pursuit. What does it mean? When someone new comes into your life and you feel that spark, pause. Ask yourself, is this excitement or anxiety? Because, my friends, sometimes butterflies are just your nervous system bracing for abandonment. That pause gives you space to respond, not just react. And it disturbs the pattern before it takes over. Second step. The second step is track your nervous system, not your thoughts. Thoughts can lie, my friend. Trauma speaks in body language. If your chest tightens, your stomach flips, your body feels that's information. That's valid information. Healing begins by listening to your body like you would listen to a scared child. Ask yourself, what do you need right now to feel safe? Sometimes it could be space. Sometimes it's reassurance. Sometimes it's saying no, even if the person seems perfect. And the third step is redefine your love blueprint. This one is very deep. I'm trying to elaborate around it, but I work with my clients sessions and sessions, months after months to make sure they get it. Write out your current definition of love, not the ideal one, the one you live. It could be love is being needed. Love is unpredictable. Love is working hard to stay worthy. Now write the one you're willing to believe going forward. Something like, love is steady. Love is safe even when I'm not performing. Love feels like being seen, not just useful. Healing happens in that rewriting, in that quiet rebellion against old conditioning. And the fourth step is to let that safe feel boring at first. Then let it grow. When you are used to emotional roller coasters, stability feels dull. But it's not dull, it's regulated. It's unfamiliar, not unworthy. It might not sweep you off your feet. It might just offer you a chair to rest in. And honestly, that's love too. Tara eventually met someone who texted back, someone who asked thoughtful questions and didn't disappear. It took us a while to get to that point. At first, she told me, I don't know, it feels too easy. But after a few months, she said, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm in a relationship, not chasing one. My friends, you won't wake up one day suddenly healed, but little by little, you will start catching yourself choosing peace over chaos, curiosity over judgment, self-trust over self-blame. And in that quiet shift, you will know that you're no longer picking from your wound. Rather, you're choosing from your worth. That is the beginning of a new kind of love. My good friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope you could resonate with it. Please, please, please write down in comments about your experience, what do you want us to talk more or elaborate more, and how this episode helped you. Till next episode, take good care of yourself.